So we're back in New Orleans at my parents' place. There's gonna be a small change to the programming. Liz has to run back to New York, so I'm taking her to the airport, and then me and the boys are gonna fend for ourselves for a couple days, try not to get in too much trouble. Got Clark, got Jack. We'll see what happens.
2 hours later.
1, 2, 3,
Fuck it.
I already missed that woman. So I have kind of a complicated relationship with New Orleans. I totally love so many things about this place. I love the architecture and the music and the food. Some other things just didn't really mesh with me, but it's always super fun to come back. And so on this trip, I'm planning to eat as much food as I possibly can, but I also want to hit some landmarks. And since I've got the drone, I figured this is a good opportunity to get some pretty crazy shots. Oh, and there's going to be a special guest appearance in this episode because since Liz had to run off to New York for a couple days, we got to fill in with some extra talent. What's up, Mikey?
Fuck. The key to breaking into a car is the top corner of the door. You can then stick a hook in from that corner and you jerk up on the lock. So you break in from the inside. And then it's better if you have the keys because that's when the car alarm goes off.
Pro tip, have the keys to your own car. My favorite po' boy spot in the entire city is this little house called Dom Elisa's. And they make an amazing fried shrimp and fried oyster po' boy. And that's our first stop today for lunch.
it brings a tear to my eyes. To my eyes.
That was delicious. What do you think?
Pretty fucking good.
It's really, really fucking good, po' boy. Back into the heat, and then on to Adventure Town. This next bit requires a bit of background.
About 700 protesters faced off yesterday in New Orleans, where several monuments are being removed.
I grew up in New Orleans. From kindergarten until I left for college, I was educated in the South. They say that history is written by the victors, but around here you'd be forgiven for thinking that the Confederacy had won the Civil War. I spent almost 20 years taking Jefferson Davis Parkway to visit friends, walking past a statue of PGT Beauregard on the way to City Park, and riding the streetcar around one of the most domineering statues in New Orleans, a tribute to General Robert E. Lee, as I went to school.
Good morning. All quiet now, but the battle lines are drawn over the probable removal this week of that monument to a Civil War icon and others like it.
I remember thinking it was weird as a kid. These guys fought against the United States. They fought for slavery. But I just assumed it was our reality. It was the world that we lived in. One of the most important moments in my life was when I realized that things are the way they are because somebody decided that's how they should be. And the past doesn't dictate the future. We do.
A statue of Lee is falling in New Orleans tonight.
Removing these monuments isn't about erasing the past. It's about setting the record straight. The war happened, these guys fought, and they ended up on the wrong side of history. Monuments celebrating them as heroes is not only inaccurate, it's painful to the descendants of slavery and to the people whose ancestors fought for unity and equality in our country. I wanted to get one last look at this statue of Robert E. Lee that cast a shadow over this city for far too long.
Our After 133 years of standing over New Orleans, a statue dedicated to Confederate General Robert E. Lee is the final statue to come down.
Attempt to climb to the top of this old roller coaster. Believe it or not, this is the way.
Another thing that I've always wanted to do is go visit this abandoned theme park that got bought by Six Flags a couple years ago.
It used to be Six Flags New Orleans, one of the nation's premier theme parks.
And then was totally destroyed by Hurricane Katrina, and it's just abandoned.
20 minutes later.
So I just made it to New Orleans East, where Jazzland theme park is located. And then as we got to the driveway, we saw that there were 3 security cars, like private security, parked out front. So I'm just like double parked on the side of the road, a little bit out of their view, and I'm gonna see if I can fly to the theme park from here.
Aside from my soul, there goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul.
They didn't specifically say we weren't supposed to fly there, but they asked where the drone was flying, and I just kind of said somewhere up above and not in the park. You know, shit happens.
There goes a sight, there goes a sight. There goes a sight from my soul. I think the angels just walk by.
Last errand of the day, the castle in Irish Bayou. It's not a particularly large castle. It's kind of got like one turret and a drawbridge looking thing. But the story is that there was a guy who taught himself how to pour concrete, and he just figured, well, I know how to pour concrete, I might as well build myself a castle. We had to change spots from the first. It turned out to be a Army Corps of Engineers parking lot, and that seemed to be a bad idea. Got the castle, back to Poplarville. That's it.
3 days later.
And now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
1, 2, 3, funky.